So.
All right, well, it's 32 and 32. Denzel Ward.
Denzel Ward. You guys got Denzel way too low. At 1
Too low?
9?
9, yes, sir.
Where did you have him individually?
I'll pull it up. Hold on.
I have Denzel 6 on my list.
I had Denzel 9.
Yeah.
Anthony had him 10. Earl had him 7.
All right. So you
all in the range.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with Denzel.
I have him 6.
6. So you're
He's their number one corner.
in the same.
That's one of the most important positions. Number one corner.
6 to 9. I feel like we're arguing minutia depending on where you have him. Yeah. Here's my thing with Denzel Ward. And G, you've done such a good job throughout this offseason. I think better than anyone in the city, kind of explaining what Jim Schwartz, philosophy-wise, will bring to a defense here in Cleveland. And the one thing you've harped time and time again, and the one thing that I found in my research and watching the Eagles, the Titans, all the teams he's coached, is pressure with 4 and quick pressure. And you know what that does? It puts pressure on your DBs to lock guys up quickly because the ball's coming out in 2.5 seconds or less.
Yep.
Denzel Ward, you look at his PFF grades, you go throughout his college scouting reports and what you see on tape, is better at man-to-man coverage. He's not the biggest corner in the world. He's not Martin Emerson, but he's lightning quick. His lateral ability, in my opinion, and I'm not a cornerback expert, is about as good as anyone in the league, and he's got pretty good hands. I think there's going to be a lot of chances this year for Denzel Ward to be matched up on guys, press coverage, jamming dudes in the slot, having slants come his way, and take it back the other way for 6. Like, if they're getting pressure as quick as I think they can with Za'Darius, Miles, Ogbo, all the guys in that defensive line, the ball's going to be coming out quick to the outside, and I think Denzel Ward has a chance to eat this year. And that's why I think, in hindsight, he is probably a slot or two too low for me.
Yeah.
But I said top 2-3 cornerback yesterday with Denzel Ward. You're right. That probably was an exaggeration. But he has a talent to be in that top 5-ish conversation, and this system is going to let him flourish with what he does best, as opposed to how Joe Woods did it.
You're talking about he's got great talent, and he plays the 3rd or 4th most important position on the field. So, to me, he's got to be higher. That's why I had him. I mean, you guys obviously have Stefanski and Jim Schwartz really high.
We do, yes.
I had them a little lower than you guys do. I think the star players are worth more than the coaches. But anyway, what about you, G?
If he gets to be where I think he can be at, I think they can transform. I think this is going to be. I'm almost more excited to see the defense play than I am the offense, and I can't say that a lot for the Cleveland. I've never said that. Looking back, the way the Cleveland Browns played, just the way that they've constituted their defense, I've just never liked it. I didn't like it under Pettin. I didn't like Greg Williams. It just seemed like gimmicky. It just seemed like all this stuff where, you got your safeties playing deep. And then last year with Joe Woods, it's like, bro, listen, forget your system. I know everybody has a system, and this is your problem. You run across this in regular, everyday life. You get one manager who says, I've been doing it this way forever, and you guys are going to do it this way, right? And then you get another manager that come in and look at it, they take this survey, lay it in land, and say, okay, well, what resources we got, what's the personnel, and they come up with what's best for that group of people in the field, and everybody plays better, everybody likes coming to work. Last year, they didn't like coming to work.
Yep.
They didn't like it. Like, I didn't like watching them. And I know if I didn't like watching them, they didn't like being out there. So that's why you have Denzel Ward has missed a lot of time. People will play through aches, pains, bumps, and bruises if, one, they enjoy what they're doing.
Fact.
2, they believe that they're playing to their strengths. And 3, they're winning football games. And so Denzel Ward has not been put in those positions, and they haven't won. So I can see why his hamstring hurts some days, or I can't push past this. But he has an opportunity to put the Browns on a different level, because just as good as they are up front, they got pieces in the back end that I think can really be like one of the best secondaries too. And if you can marry both the front and the back end, you got a chance in this league to be a top defense.
Denzel has been paid like an elite corner. He has mostly played his career like a very good corner. Last year he was mediocre. He's got to play like an elite corner this year. Well, that's the expectation. We need to have high expectations. Sometimes people get mad when I'm like, this is not good enough. No, as a fan, you should have the highest expectations for your players who are capable of it.
Yes.
I'm not expecting Donovan Peoples-Jones to have 1,500 yards because he's not capable of that type of production. But when I talk about my stars, whether it's Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward, Deshaun Watson, Joel Bitonio, I expect those guys to play at the elite level because they're capable of. Now, some of those guys have done it, but those guys are all capable of playing like superstars. And of those 5 guys, Ward's played at that level the least. And so he needs to do it this year, I think.
And with Denzel Ward in this offense, and G, you play defense at a high level, you know this. There's a chance that they generate pressure at an elite rate in the terms of in the grand teams of the NFL with just the front 4 guys. And if Ward is the cornerback we think he can be, that shuts down half the field. And when you're an offensive coordinator trying to stop that kind of pressure, have quick throws, and you're really working with half a field, you become very predictable. And what's the easiest thing to stop in the NFL? A predictable offense. And that's how I think the Browns reach whatever the peak is for this defense, whether it's top 2, 3, 10, whatever it is. That is the form of them reaching their peak potential, is Denzel Ward being absolutely locked down on one half of the field, generating pressure with 4, and letting Newsome and Emerson and the guys on the other side just don't let anything crazy happen.
The key to that will be how good Zadarius Smith still is and how good Ogbo is.
Fair.
That's what we don't know because Zadarius Smith is old.
Totally fair.
And we don't know. He wasn't as good the second half of the year. Now, I still think he's got left in the tank. Obviously, you guys do. We got to see that, though. If he and Ogbo, if Zadarius is still he's not an elite pass rusher, but if he's still a very good pass rusher, and Ogbo takes the next step from where he was last year, then yes, the Browns should be very dominant up front. If they don't, they'll be still better than last year, but maybe not as dominant as we think. Or if only one of those things happens, you know what I mean? Like say Zadarius is still really good, but Ogbo maybe isn't the player we thought he might be. Well,
or vice versa.
Right. So that there's, I love stealing this from G all the time. There's levels to this. So if Zadarius is still great and Ogbo takes another step, this front 4 could be super. And Shelby Harris still pretty good.
Tomlinson doesn't hit a cliff.
And all these guys who are capable of
Bo
it.
Hurst is healthy.
Right. If that happens, they could be as good as any defensive line in the league. But at least we know now that the floor is a lot higher than it was. The floor to me is decent, solid.
There's no
last year was
excuse.
shit.
We talk about no excuses for Watson Stefanski.
Yeah.
If this defensive front isn't just average, like you said, baseline average,
that should be the worst case scenario.
Then something's going catastrophically wrong.
Right, and I don't see that happening. But I think the worst case scenario is they're average, and if they're average, that's going to be good enough. You want it to be better, but if Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson and you have an average play from their defensive line,
should compete.
It's still good enough.
Yeah.